about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all? I'll go.
So, as many of y'all know that I am, I guess, a fucking oracle, because a lot of the dreams that I have usually come to pass. So, it was about almost a year and a half ago. I usually dream about my family, and when I dream about my family, they be super, super intense dreams. So here goes the story. So one day, I was in my apartment. I was taking a nap before it was time to go to work. So as soon as I nap, as y'all see, I have a bonnet on because I am very, very, very spiritual, and I know that, you know, things can creep in unnecessarily. So back to the story. So I'm deep in my dream, and I'm in a metaphysical store. I've been in this place multiple times. This place is like a metaphysical store / school / lunchroom / whatever. So I'm standing there, and the lady is talking to me, and she's writing what's called a universal check. If you know, you know. She's writing a universal an amount. Well, as she's writing the check, my little brother comes into the store, and he's very, very high yellow. And he comes into the store, and he's extremely mad. You know, y'all light-skinned people, y'all can't hide y'all mad because y'all turn into fucking fireballs. Anyway, he's mad, but he's not saying anything. So, the lady writes 21, but she erases the 21, and she puts 27 on the check. When she writes the 27, I wake up. I call my brother. I ask him if everything is okay. He tells me, yeah, everything is fine. Later on that night, I'm at work, and I'm doing my job, and my mom calls me, and we're just talking. And I say to my mom, I say, Ma, I don't know what's going on, but you need to keep an eye on my brother. I don't know what's going on, but I dreamt about him. He was extremely upset. I don't know if it's one of his baby mothers. Mind you, I'm not engulfed in everybody's life, you know. I love them, but, you know, everybody gonna do what they gonna do. Whatever. So, I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but you need to keep an eye on him. As I'm telling her to keep an eye on him, her phone is ringing. And she's like, I don't know who this number is. I'm gonna call you right back. She hangs up. About a good 15 minutes later, she calls me back and she says, Dawn, I don't know what type of fucking witchcraft you got going on, but that's your brother, and he's in jail. Long story short, my brother just got out of jail from doing a bid for a year. Lo and behold, it has some shit to do with one of his baby mothers. Lo and behold, find out that this motherfucker ain't let my brother see the baby in over a year. It's just a wild ass shit. But boy, when I tell you, don't let me close my eyes on you. Cause it's a dream, and baby, when I tell you, it's gonna come. But that's my story, y'all. Y'all have a good day.
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all. I'll go.
So, growing up, me and my dad was always really close. We would just sit on the front porch and just have like these long, just good conversations. So, when he started to get sick outside of town, my mother would call me and tell me, you know, your dad's in the hospital, you need to come see him. And I would. So this one particular day, I was sleeping, and I dreamed that I was at home, and I was sitting on the front porch. He pulls up in front of the house, and he's walking up. And so in my dream, I knew he had been sick. He was a flashy dress. He always liked hats, and he was suspicious. Really cool, laid back. Just loved the dress. Always looking at him. So he's walking up the front porch. He had a straw hat. He had a Hawaiian shirt. He had some suspenders and some slacks. That was like a uniform for him. Straw hat, Hawaiian shirt, suspenders, and some slacks. So he's just walking, he's just going. He's just looking so good. So I said, Daddy, you look good. I was like, you feeling better? You feeling better? He said, yeah, I'm feeling so much better. going to my mother's room. My mother was in the middle sleep. She had her back turned to her. So when I walked in the room, she heard me. She sat up, and I was like, "Where's Dad?" She was like, "What are you talking about outside? Your dad came and said he wanted to see you." She was like, "I haven't seen your dad." So I'm standing looking at her, and I'm like, so I go around to the other side of the bed. I put sheets back, and my dad was laying in the bed. He's naked, and his hands folded across his chest. And I woke up in a panic, just scared to death. And I remember my roommate was in the kitchen. She was like, "What is wrong with us? It's water. It's water. She's scared of water." And I called mother and I told her about the dream. She was like, she was like, so about 2 or 3 weeks later, my dad passed. And I was like, "Mom, you remember that dream?" She said, "Yeah, I remember it." She said, "That dream wasn't for me." She said, "In the dream, you said he was trying, he wanted to talk to me." She was like, "No, he didn't want to talk to me because I never seen him." She said, "That dream was for you." He was telling me he was getting ready to pass. He came to say goodbye.
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all.
Okay, so my childhood crush, I was like 10, I had to be like in 4th or 5th grade, and he was my neighbor, and he was like a little gang member. So like he knew my brother and stuff, and I really liked him. And before I met him, I was a tomboy, so I used to just wear whatever, and I used to be outside smelling like outside, rough and tough tomboy. But then he told me I was cute. Like, who, me? I switched it up. Okay, so I was, now mind you, I've been liking this man since I was 10, and I mean, I was really crushing on this man, like really crushing on him, because he was just so freaking cute, and he was nice to me, like, you know how you, those, one necklaces, it's like best friend necklaces, so like, you get one part, and then you give your best friend a part. I remember giving him one, and he wore it, but not only did he wear it, it was like a chilly day when I gave it to him, so he had his coat on, so he made sure he put it on outside of his coat so I could see that he was wearing it. I was like, oh yes, that's gonna be amen. So, tragically, he ended up getting shot and killed when I was like 15, and I wasn't allowed to have boyfriends until I was 16, and I was like really waiting, because I was gonna lose my virginity to him. He was gonna be my baby's daddy, he was gonna be my husband, he was gonna be everything, but he ended up dying, and I'm like, fuck. Okay, so he ended up passing away or whatever, so like a year later, we ended up moving out west from being where we, and I went to sleep, had a dream, and in my dream, I felt like I was like in a window, like looking out to him, because like the way he came up to me looked like he was like a little lower than me, but like the scenery was very cute. Like the grass was green as fuck, it was like a yellow brick road, like the sun was shining, like it was a pretty scene. So he came up to me and he was like telling me to come here, but no words, it was just, and I could feel myself like moving up my bed trying to come to him, you know what I'm saying? And like as I was moving up, like it felt like I was kind of like, coming to him. Like this hand from behind me, it was like to him, and then he ended up running away. So when I woke up, I went in the living room and told my sister that I had that dream was crazy, And she was like, "What? I heard you in your room. I thought you been up." I'm like, "No, I just woke up." And I was like, dang, she must have heard me like moving up my bed. I must have been really moving. Yeah, that shit was crazy. I really love that man. I still love that man. I be telling my kids, this should have been your grandma to his mama. Like,
About the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all.
So I have weird dreams like all the time. I never dream like something simple or basic. It's always something like really intricate and like crazy. And most nights, like out of the 7 days out of the week, I'd say like 5 or 6 days out of the week, I get really into the dream and I have a really hard time waking up out of them. Just because I feel like they're like pulling me to like the dream. Like they don't want me to wake up, if that makes sense. So, you know, sometimes people be, there's a couple nights, you know, where I'm like, okay, I'm just really tired. Like I don't want to wake up. But I feel like most nights it's like, or most mornings I'm waking up and it's like I'm fighting my freaking dream just to wake up. So one dream that I had that I remember really well was I was a queen, like mafia boss, and it started off with me married to like a drug lord, and um he, you know, treated me so well, and we were dating and we fell in love, and I loved him. And he had like all of these guards and people that worked under him and supported him and really respected him, and he was really well known, and he was like a really big name out there. With staying down low, like we were moving around all the time, you know, people wouldn't talk, give us up or nothing like that. And so we got married. But shortly after we got married, like literally a month later, he died. And I was devastated, but I was already so far in, and we didn't have any kids or anything like that to take over. So I stepped up. And in this world, women didn't have like any power. Like, not like how it is in real life, but like we were just seeing, like we were literally like objects or possessions. Like we did not have like any power. Like it was crazy. So anyways, everyone knew my husband loved me, and so whenever he died, it was so like he just didn't wake up, like he wasn't killed or anything like that. Whenever he died, he had just like me and like 3 or 4 other people that knew that he had died, and they stepped up to me and said, we know he really loved you, and we'd been together for a while. We had just like recently got married, but we had been together for a while. And you know how to do the things. They said, we won't talk if you want to keep running things, because everything we worked for, it's just gonna go away. And so I said, you know what? You're right. Like, if it's not me, like someone's gonna come and kill me, and take everything my husband has worked for, and I've really seen this empire grow. So I stepped up, and nobody knew my husband died. And so we were keeping up the facade that he was still alive, and it wasn't like people needed to see him anyways. We weren't supposed to be seen. We're supposed to be like hidden all the time. So it was kind of easy to keep it up, but it was so stressful. I remember like sweating out my ass when I first started taking over, making sure that that the business was well run. I had no idea what I was doing, but they helped me out a lot. The people that my husband knew, and I grew the business. Like for years, like nobody knew. I knew what I was doing. That rumors started going around that it was me, that my husband had been dead because no one had seen him. And a hit was put out to kill me. And it was crazy because I remember how stressed out I was. I mean, like I was strong, I was smart, I knew what I was doing to try not to get killed, but like not knowing who was coming after you or when you were gonna die, when your goal was to like know that you had so many people counting on you, it was just a lot. And I remember like having all of that stress and that weight on me. But after like a couple missed attempts, I decided to remarry, and I remarried one of the guys that had helped me whenever my husband had died. He was like a really good friend, and it's like 5+ years at this point. we zoomed. And so he stepped up and got married, and it helped. I just needed help because it was a little stressful. But I still ran everything, and then he played like the role of my husband, like pretending to still be him, because again, we just didn't let people know that he had died. And before my dream ended, because I had to wake up, but this is one of those dreams where like I just was struggling to wake up before I woke up. I remember that I was in a war with one of these guys that had put a hit out on me, and I had to go, and I had done this before, but in my dream self, like we just like skip past it. Like I just know I had killed people or had people killed, but in my dream before, I had woken up, I had to go and kill someone, and it was very, very like not sensual, but like graphic. And I remember how it felt to kill them, because I was trying to take, because he was such a big rival and he wouldn't like stop pestering me and like telling people that it was me running the show, which wasn't allowed. I'd kill him. And so whenever in this world or whatever that I was in, you couldn't just go and have someone put a hit out on a boss. It's like really hard to do that. And it's better for like another boss to go take out another boss, because that way we go and take everything that they have. And that's why it's such a big deal. Not a lot of people do it, but it was just a sacrifice I had to do. And I remember killing him, and I remember like seeing him die. And I was like, you know what? Like, I really respect you, even though you put all these hits on me, and I'm going to take care of your family. But you're just not going to be here anymore. And I did that. And that was the last thing I remember before I woke up. So that was just one of my dreams. And I think I had that dream. See, it's 2024. I had that dream in like 2020 or 2021. And I still very vividly remember that. But yeah, I have those dreams all the time.
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all.
Okay, so I tried to upload this earlier. I recorded it, but I have tried 3 different times and it keeps getting to 66% and then not uploading, so I thought I'd try it again. But when I was like 15, 16 years old, like I used to have dreams about these things that I would call ghouls. Because I didn't have any other way of describing them, but basically were like emaciated, skeletal-looking humans with glowing white eyes. And the best way I've been able to like reference them would be like that bathroom ghost in Twin Peaks, but it was just they were white and had glowing eyes. So anyway, I'm moving with my sister. This was about 8 years ago, and I hadn't had any of those dreams for about 5 years. Of course I burped in the middle of it. Anyway, and this night I was having one of those dreams, but I was in my bedroom. It was exactly the way it was, except my bed was in the middle of the room and there were those ghouls surrounding me. I had like 2 on each side and then 1 or 2 at the foot of the bed. I can't remember if there were 2 at the foot of the bed, but I remember looking around at them, and like all of them looked completely different. They didn't look the same at all, and they're like a mix of male and female. So I start to wake up because I hear my sister calling my name from outside my bedroom, and she sounds frantic and scared, frankly, and I am half asleep, so I'm just like, what's going on, what's up? She goes, oh, okay, cool, you're awake, I'll tell you in the morning. So from her perspective, this is what was happening simultaneously. We had, because we were in an basement apartment, I can't say it now. We had a sliding glass door and a storm door that was our front door. That night, her boyfriend went to use the bathroom and noticed that that sliding glass door and the storm door were both open. and he just assumed like I was on the patio or something. He walks back after using the restroom to talk to my sister. He's standing in her doorway of her bedroom, and behind him is the front door that's still open. And my sister proceeds to see a creature, some kind of apparition, spirit, whatever you want to fucking call it, walking past, like, in the door, into the front door, behind him, and then into my bedroom. Which, I'll be honest, she sees a lot of stuff, so it's like, that wasn't, it was weird to see it in the house, but not weird for her, you know? She didn't react that weirdly to it. But what freaked her out is that she, of course, got up and went to my room and started calling my name, but didn't want to walk in because she was just kind of a little bit freaked out. And she had been calling my name, according to her, for at least 30 seconds to a minute before I said anything, and that's why she was scared, because I wasn't reacting to her calling my name. But yeah, so the fact that those two things were happening simultaneously makes it a little weird, and probably the fact that it probably wasn't, like, entirely a dream, so yay!
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all. I'll go.
Okay, this is literally perfect because this just happened to me. So my dad passed away last month on May 22nd, and he was dealing with some health problems, but we thought like we had a few years before he actually passed away. And obviously, like, we were wrong. And my birthday's June 3rd. He passed May 22nd. And the Sunday before May 22nd, so he died on a Wednesday, that Sunday before, he told me, oh, your birthday present got delivered, and I'm so excited for you to get it. Pretend like you don't even know that I'm telling you I got you a birthday present. And I'm spiritual. My dad's spiritual. And I was like, okay, great. Like, I can't wait for you to give it to me. And so then he ended up passing away. His funeral was June 1st and my birthday was June 3rd. So of course it was extremely emotional to like open up a gift from him, and he wasn't like here anymore. And he bought me some oracle decks because I love doing readings, like obviously if you've seen my page. And one of the decks was talking to heaven. And like, it was so crazy. That's kind of besides the point, but I need to like set the premise that I'm spiritual, my dad is spiritual. And so this past weekend, I was like taking a nap in the morning. I'm in the process of moving, and so I'm like sleeping and I fall asleep. It doesn't feel like I fall asleep. Like, it literally, this, like the lady said in the video that I stitched, like, it doesn't feel like a dream at all. So I walk into my childhood home. I'm literally wearing the clothes in my dream that I am like physically wearing at that moment. And I walk in my childhood home and I'm like looking around in shock because it looks exactly how it did when I was like 10 years old. And it's like very nostalgic, and like those are like some of the best memories in my life, and like that time frame. And as I'm like walking, so it's like living room, dining room, kitchen. As I'm walking all the way back to the kitchen, my dad is in the kitchen in like a work uniform for the place that he worked at that time. And he's rolling up his sleeves and he's washing his hands. This was like a normal habit that he did every day when he came home from work. And my jaw, like in the dream, like hits the floor. I'm like, and I'm just staring at him. And I don't say anything at first. And he's like, hey babe, what's up? And I'm like, oh my God, you're here. And he's like drying his hands. He's like, yeah, I'm here. It's nice to see you here. That's so cool that you can come here. And I'm like, you're really here? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, there's no way. Like, I'm in disbelief. So I grab his face like this. And I can feel like his skin on my hands. I can smell him. And I'm looking him. My dad has like piercing blue eyes. And I'm looking him dead in his eyes, and I'm sobbing, like crying, like hyperventilating, crying. And in my dream, as I'm looking at him, I can see like the tears in my eyes, like it's blurry, like I keep wiping them. And I'm like, oh my God, I miss you so much. Like, I love you so much. I'm never going to stop loving you. I'm never going to stop thinking about you. I'm never going to stop missing you. Like, I'm so sad, Dad. I want you here so bad. And he's like, oh honey, you don't have to miss me. I'm with you all the time. And I was like, you know, Dad, it's so nice to see you here, because these were some of the best memories ever, like back then when we lived here. And he looks at me and he looks kind of confused. I'm like, what? And he's like, well, this isn't the past. And I says, yeah, this is like when I was a little kid. And he's like, well, no, because you're here now. I was like, I know, but this looks exactly like the past, like back then when I was a kid. He goes, I understand it's really hard for you to wrap your brain around this, but this isn't the past, this is the future. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you'll be here too. Like, you'll all come here. And I was like, here? And he's like, well, yeah, if you want to. And then he was like, I'm everywhere. Like, when you wake up, I'll be there when you're up. And when you fall asleep, you can come here and meet me here too. It's really cool you can come here. And I was like, yeah, this is like really cool. And I was like, but you're there when I wake up too? Like with me, like in the present? And he was like, watch, I'll show you. And so we like zap into my bedroom where I'm like currently living, currently sleeping. And he goes, see, we're here now. I'm here right now with you. Look out the window. And so I look out the window and I see like a bunch of garbage from like my basement that needs to be taken out. It's like on the curb because every week the garbage truck comes and like they pick up bulk garbage. And I was like, oh wow, that's so cool you're here with me. Okay. And then we go back to the childhood home and I'm like just telling him how much I love him. And like I like when I woke up I like beat myself up because I'm like, oh, I should have been a freaking crybaby. Like there's so many things I should have asked him or talked about. And then like fear just like goes across my face and he's like, what's wrong, babe? And I was like, oh no, Dad. And he's like, what? And I was like, I'm gonna wake up. Like I think my body's about to wake up. And he's like, it's okay, baby. Remember I told you, when you wake up, I'll be there with you. And when you go to sleep, you can always come here. And I was like, no, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to. He's like, well, you never lose me. When you fall asleep, I'm here. When you wake up, I'll be right there with you. And I'm like, okay, but I love you and I'll miss you. And he's like, I love you too. Don't miss me. I'll be with you. It's okay. Wake up. It's okay. Wake up. And I wake up and like my pillow's drenched in tears. Like my hair is all wet. My face is wet because I was literally crying. And I wake up and I'm like so angry when I wake up. And I'm like, like why didn't I like ask him questions or like talk about stuff or like have him explain more like what was going on. Like I was just a freaking crybaby. And my boyfriend's like, what's wrong? You seem like so frustrated. I was like, I just had like a stupid dream. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, well, just so you know, I finished the basement. I was like, what do you mean you finished the basement? And he's like, look outside. And I literally look out the freaking window. You guys, why is the exact same garbage that I seen on my curb in my dream in the same place, like the same garbage in the same spot on my front lawn? Fucking mind blown. So yeah, definitely wasn't a dream. Definitely redefined my entire perspective on like death and life, death, past, present, future, all of that. So thought I would share.
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all.
Okay, so literally this is the third time I'm doing this video, which I'm starting to find really weird. So anyway, so I've been having these dreams so often that not only do I feel like I'm jumping into a different timeline, I actually remember where I'm going. Like, I remember streets, intersections, places. There's a park. It's so pretty. A lot of water is usually involved in these, so that's probably got something to do with something. But anyway, when you go into the park, there's like a body of water, river type thing when you first go in on the left, and then there's like a peninsula of land that goes through the water, and then there's more water on the other side of that, and then land. So there's people all over the place mingling about, and in the middle of the river on the other side, on this side. And then the other place I go a lot is this big, huge building. Excuse me. That is on the edge of like a beach. And the beach is, it's like this big expanse of water. Like, you cannot see the other side of the water. There's no skyline, nothing like that. So the building is like, it's like a dorm or a hospital. Excuse me here. Riddick. Stop. Something like that, because there's bedrooms in it. And at one point I shared a room with like 3 other girls. And at first I thought it was like a dorm, but then I'm feeling like it's something different, because there was definitely a group therapy session that happened at least at one point. And then there's the house. It is this big, like, log cabin style house. It's 3 stories. It's beautiful. Water again. Got a huge lake in the backyard, which I've swum in a couple of times with a bunch of other people. Very nice. But when you first walk in the house and you go through up the staircase, you go up the staircase and you turn around, there's this big stained glass window above the front door, which is like a big, huge French doors. And then when you go upstairs to the 3rd floor, it's like this huge, long hallway. And there's like old school looking like secretary desks and everything like that. There's like a bedroom, and then you can walk beyond the bedroom, go through it towards the back. There's like a closet and more hallway. I get the feeling when I'm up there, number 1, that I want to snoop. Number 2, that somebody old lived there, but they're not there anymore. And I don't know why, but I want to look around. I don't know.
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all. I'll go.
Okay. I have so many of these, but I'll tell you this one. About a couple years ago, I had what I would term a visitation dream, where I was in my childhood home, and I'm in the basement, and I'm trying to, like, because we had a pantry that went down the stairwell, old school housing in New York, okay? And I had accidentally dropped some cans, and I look up, and there's my grandmother on my father's side. And I apologize for making a mess, and she's like, "Oh, honey, that's all right. You know that. I don't care." And the next thing I know, I'm coming up the stairs and coming around the corner and going through the kitchen to the dining room. And who's standing there but my other grandmother from my mom's side? And, you know, I go up to her, I'm like, "Oh, I miss you so much," you know, and I start crying, and she hugs me. And I look past her into the dining room, and there is my grandfather sitting at the coffee table, and he's working on something, right? So I walk over and I sit down next to him, and I don't know why I asked, but I asked him about the job that I was trying to get at that time, because I was looking to get out of the area I was in, let's say. And without missing a beat, this man, still working on stuff, glances up at me, glances down, and says, "Too busy." And he's working on it. And then, not a moment later, he starts rattling off 2 company names. 2 company names. Now, I had no clue about these names. I didn't know who they were, what it was. I didn't even know they were company names, okay? Trust me, this is an important part. So I wake up, and I'm like, "Oh, well, that was nice. You know, I had a dream with 3 of my grandparents. It was wonderful." And I go to work. Within the next week, I find out that I did not get the position that I had applied for. And not maybe 2 or 3 hours later, the person that I had been talking to about the job was complaining about 2 companies that they have to work with in that job that are really stressful. Like, they don't, corporate stuff, the little headaches that just build and build and build. When she said those names, I about shit myself. Not gonna lie. So, there you have it. I have visitation dreams a lot, actually. But that's mine.
About the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all. I'll go first.
Okay, ignore the shower cap on deep conditioning, but I have been waiting for this for a couple of months. So I have PTSD, and a couple months ago, my abuser's mother was gaslighting me, and it was triggering my PTSD, my night terrors, and I was taking my anxiety medication, which doesn't really prevent any of that, but it does drug me enough to lock me into my night terrors. So I was in this really bad cycle of sleep, like I was scared to drive. It wasn't good. And so finally, after a couple of weeks of this going on, I decided I'm just not going to take this medication because it's obviously not working. And after a few days, I finally fall asleep. And I have lucid dreams when my medication isn't working, but I've not ever figured out how to control them the way that other people say that they can, with the exception of this one dream when I finally fell asleep after just a couple of weeks of almost no sleep. It was absolute torture. And when I fell asleep, it was definitely a lucid dream, but it didn't feel like a dream. And everyone that was in my dream were also aware that they were lucid dreaming. And all of those people had either Southeast Asia or Australian accents. And I don't have anyone in my life that has those accents. So I was like, okay, well, that's weird, but we're just having a good time. And then all these weird things would happen throughout the dream. We're all working in this sporting goods store, but there's no customers. It's kind of like office-y and campy, right? But then things would happen so we were trying to prove to each other that it was a dream. And so we would all think of something and so there was a live band. And they were like, who's that? I'm like, oh, well, I really like them. They're like, oh, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden the moon turns into the Death Star, but not in a scary way. And we're just like, oh, who's a Star Wars nerd? And we're all raising our hands. And it was such a fucking vibe, but it did not feel like a dream. And the control that was there is insane, because usually when I realize I'm stuck in a lucid dream, all of my functions stop physically. My legs give out. I am trapped in this nightmare, and it's always something scary. But this wasn't that at all. And when I have my regular dreams, I barely remember them, but I can remember vivid details, sounds, feelings, smells from this dream. And I have been wanting to know if anyone else was in that dream with me, because I really think it was a shared experience, lucid experience.
Tell me about the weirdest.
So this is what happened to me. It wasn't really a dream. I guess it was more sleep paralysis, I guess you can say, but it didn't feel like it. It felt that real. So anyways, it's a few nights ago, so this was recent. And I had a panic attack and ended up crying so hard after it with a ton of shit I'm dealing with right now, which I really don't want to get into, honestly, because probably a lot of people in here know the shit I'm going through. Yeah. But anyways, so I was about to go to sleep, and I felt myself going to sleep, because actually I can feel myself going to sleep, which is crazy. Not a lot of people can say that. Not a lot. And I was facing the door, so I was laying on my side facing the door. and it was all dark in the apartment, and it scared the fucking shit out of me because I heard the door open, and that's what woke me up, or whatever. Again, if you understand sleep paralysis or dreams or something, which I'm pretty sure it was sleep paralysis, but it felt so damn real. I saw a figure of my ex holding a knife, and literally, I shit you not, it was a minute, like a solid fucking minute. It felt like it had been an hour of me just, I have the blanket over my head, but I always keep like one eye out of my blanket, and that's all I saw for a straight fucking minute. And I woke up, had the worst panic attack of my life, cried, texted my friend about it. It was so bad, and I was so scared. It was a lot, but what's really weird about it is that I remember my door being closed. And it was opened when I woke up. And I was like, that's really weird. That's like, that's not cool. That's weird. And so I turned on the lights in the apartment, checked the door, if it was locked or not. And yeah, no. And I mean, yes, he has the apartment keys and stuff, but still, that was fucking scary. And I, like, could not go back to bed until, like, 9 a.m. in the morning to take a 2-hour nap. It was scary, and I don't think it was real, because there's probably no way in hell that would be real, but it still did not feel like a dream or sleep paralysis. It felt so damn real, and yeah, that's my story.
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all.
Okay, so it starts off, just basic regular dream, and cuts to this door, and it's just a basic door, but everything around it's black. Truck. And so I open the door, and it's just like, you open the door and there's just a chair sitting there, and everything like just like a light on it, and that's it, that's all that's there. And out of nowhere, my mom like just goes right in front of my face and goes, "Oh my God," and she screams my name, and she goes, I'm gonna die. And I shot up awake. My mom had died like 3 days before that. So, and she was terrified of dying. And there's that.
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream at all. I'll go.
Well, there's a few of them that I can tell you about, but the main one that was considered a dream, that I still consider a dream, it happened twice. In reality, it happened twice. Consecutively. It was me, my grandfather, my mother, my sister, and my grandmother. Well, we were driving cross country in someone else's truck, which would have been my cousin's truck, because it looked like an F-250 instead of an F-150. But as we're passing through, we kept stopping here and there, you know, gas break, bathroom break. Everything seemed normal. We get to this certain, like, museum type place to where you can go in, but you have to go through special glass doors. And there's cameras in all four corners of that first door opening. And then there's this thing that just kind of floats around, kind of flying around. It's about maybe a foot tall. It floats around. It talks to people in English, talks to people, whatever. So I was just like, that's pretty cool. I'm thinking it's like maybe a hologram or something like that. We pass through. We go to the museum. We're doing whatever. You know, having a good time in the museum. We come back out. This thing knows my name. Again, thinking it's maybe just a hologram. Somehow it heard my name throughout our visit or something like that. I come back out and I can feel it touch me. I'm like, holograms don't do that. Holograms, you cannot feel the thing touch you. Okay, well, it said it was tired. It wanted to land. Like, okay. I put my arm out. It landed on my arm. And I can feel the freaking thing. Okay? I get to the point where I was like, alright, my arm's getting tired. You gotta go. Okay. And it fluttered off. Later on down the line, as we're driving, my grandmother asks my grandfather, hey, pull over. I got something to do. And then she gets out the truck, gets in the middle of the frickin' road, and starts jolting around in the middle of the road. And that's where I woke up. Part 2 continues this.
Tell me about the weirdest dream you've had that you don't actually think was a dream.
In 2018, my best friend of 15 years, Keisha, died unexpectedly and kind of traumatically. A little traumatic for those of us who were there, just because it was completely unexpected, I guess. And so the night she died, I had heard that my friend called me and told me that she was dead, and I started freaking out and calling her. It went to voicemail. I was calling her family, nobody was answering. I was calling our other friends, nobody was answering. I called the hospital, and they told me that, well, I asked if anybody by her name has been admitted in, and she said yes. They brought her in about an hour ago, or something like that, and I'm like, well, is she okay? And she's like, we can't release that kind of information over the phone. And then she kept apologizing to me, so it just made me feel like it wasn't good. So I got off the phone, and then my ex, who was actually Keisha's stepbrother, I called him and told him what was going on, and he's like, well, where are you? And I told him he's at home, and so he showed up here, and at the same time my friend Jordan, who's the one that called me to tell me that she was dead, shows up at the same time too. And I was on the front lawn, literally on my knees, just like crying and being hysterical, and then my friend Kelsey messages me and says they have a pulse, and in that moment I remember feeling that okay, so this isn't, you know, she's not dead, she's gonna be okay, like, you know, it's not that serious, like. And then she also said they're trying to stabilize her to life flight her to Portland, and I'm like, okay, well, that's good, right? So Alex leaves, and Jordan and I go up to the hospital, and at the time they wouldn't let me go back, but her mom showed up and told them that I was her sister, because they were only letting family back there. So, and we're still in the ER at this point, and she's being intubated, or she's intubated, like a nurse with one of those little breathing thingies, you know, and they're breathing for her. And then eventually, like, her baby daddy came and like made this big scene. That's not really important, but because of that, they called the cops. So when the cops showed up, they asked her mom, well, okay, so the hospital, or the nurses, doctors, whatever, they were wanting to bring her up to ICU, and at the time, I was thinking, like, okay, this is a good thing, maybe, right? But at the same time, and again, at this moment, I didn't realize this either, this cop came up to her mom and was like, do you guys have, like, you know, like a pastor or a reverend or somebody you want to call? And, so she gives him a name. I don't know this guy. Like, I met him, obviously, but anyway. So then I go outside to smoke a cigarette, and when I'm out there, Kelsey messages me, and she's like, you didn't leave, did you? And I said, no, I'm outside smoking, and she's like, okay, good, you need to get up here right now. So I do, and Jordan's waiting out in the truck the whole time. He doesn't go up there with me. Anyway, so I go in, I sign in, and I go up to the 4th floor, and then I go into the waiting room, and when I get in there, there's a doctor there talking to her mom, and all of us, there was kind of a lot of us there, saying that, you know, that there's nothing they could really do, that even if they couldn't stabilize her, there was a point where she was clinically dead for like 45 minutes and had no oxygen to her brain, so her brain damage was significant and most likely irreversible, so even if we could stabilize her, she's going to be a vegetable. So the only thing we can suggest is that you guys go in and say your goodbyes. So that was really fucking hard. So we did, and then I found out later that, well, no, I already knew that she had had pneumonia for several months. She had really bad asthma. She was a smoker, cigarettes, since we were like, I don't know, like 14 maybe, 13. And, she wasn't taking, or she didn't go get the medication that the hospital prescribed her a few months prior. So she just got worse and worse, and then, I think, from my understanding of it, she actually had a heart attack, because her body just kind of gave out, because she wasn't taking care of herself, and, so anyway, after she died, I kind of spiraled out of control. I was already not sober, and I was on probation, and, so I didn't check in for like a month, because I wasn't really thinking about how long it had been, and I was driving taxi in my hometown, and, I was working graveyard shift, so I just, like, wasn't mentally there. I was checked out pretty fucking far. So then, when I finally did go to check in, I got put in jail on a probation violation, and then as soon as I got out, I moved into a sobriety house, and, I lived in the sobriety house for about a month, but so at the point of me moving into the sobriety house is about a month after she died. And then within like the first week I was living there, I started having these dreams that I'd be with Keisha's mom and her daughters and her brother, and we'd be like at a park or something, or just having like lunch or whatever, and Keisha wasn't there, and we weren't talking about her, but I could hear her voice like fading in and out, like she was trying to talk to me, but I just couldn't understand what she was saying. It was like really quiet, and then over the course of a few days, I kept having these dreams like that, and until finally one night I had a dream like that again, and like she was trying to talk to me, and I couldn't hear her, and I just kept saying like, what, like, and then I could feel like this surge of like anger, and like I think that it was her like getting frustrated that I couldn't hear her, and she just screams out fuck, and it wakes me up. I literally shot up out of bed, and I had ringing in my ears from her screaming in my ear fuck, and like that was fucking weird, and it brought up a lot of emotions at the time, but then a couple days later I had the dream, and now I've always had extremely vivid dreams my entire life. Like, for some reason they're just super fucking vivid, and I remember that, well, you know, I remember what I remember, but I remember a lot of my dreams, and a lot of details about them. So in this dream, a lot of this dream was kind of fuzzy except for her. Like, so in this dream, I was in this house that I'd never been in. I don't recognize it, and I'm waiting for somebody to pick me up. I didn't know who at the time. Then I go outside, and her car's out there. Again, it didn't register to me that it was her car, and I get in the back seat, and because there was someone in the front seat, and which was my friend Jordan. Now, like, Jordan, I describe this as like, he was just my mind's projection of him, because he was like really fuzzy. He didn't say anything throughout the whole dream, like wasn't even acknowledged, and it was like he was just a little mannequin there or something. Yeah. And then, so she was driving, and I was sitting in the middle of the back seat. I was leaning forward, talking to her, and she starts driving, and this might sound cliche, but she was literally like driving off into the sunset, like, yeah, I don't know, there was just orange, red, beautiful yellow glow around us, and she was just like driving into the sun, and she was super clear. I could hear her very well, and we just started talking about the fact that she was dead, and how much I missed her, and how sad I was that she was gone. And again, not to sound cliche, but she was telling me how happy she was and how okay she was, and to not be sad for her, that she loves me and she loves her girls and her family, and she's still here, just different. And I'm like, well, it's all the same. And she's like, well, you know, it is what it is. But when I woke up, I felt very at peace. It was probably one of the best dreams I've ever had, and yeah, I have not had a dream about her since. Yeah, I fucking miss the shit out of her though. She was such an awesome person.